Hi, girls and boys. It's me, Gary Gator. Today, Mr. Jeshua is not here. He's in my tummy. See? So, instead of learning about National Geographic, we're going to learn about my favorite sport. Don't worry, I stopped eating children years ago. Instead, now I love to skateboard. That's right, skateboarding is one of the best extreme sports. Ready to go? It's time to feel the wheel. Come on!
Gary, that's not nice. Girls and boys, don't worry about my friend Gary Gator. He's not gonna hurt you. He's just messing around. He is a little long in the tooth, but he's not eating anyone today. He does love skateboarding though. Gary doesn't just do regular skateboarding. Gary prefers extreme skateboarding, like riding on a giant half pipe. An extreme sport is any sport that is exciting and dangerous. And today, we're going to travel to the South Pacific to look at some of the extreme sports that exist there. Let's get started.
At first, the activity looks familiar, like a traditional form of bungee jumping. But after watching the first diver fall to the earth, it's clear that what's happening here on Pentecost Island is very different. This is Nagal, an ancient religious event which means land diving. The diver's goal is to touch the earth with the top of his head. The people believe this will make sure the earth produces lots of food this year. The land divers jump from a 21-meter-high tower built in a space in the jungle. From here you can see the Pacific Ocean. One of the event's organizers, Renee, gives this advice.
Whenever you are on the tower ready to jump, if you have second thoughts, that means you must not jump.
The first diver greets the people. His dive goes well. He hits the ground hard, but he's okay. His friends quickly free him from the vines that are tied to his feet. The second dive doesn't go as well. The young boys ask about the strength of the vines, but the older divers tell them that they will be strong enough. But they aren't strong enough. One of the vines breaks and the young boy goes face first into the earth. Everyone goes to help him, but the boy doesn't speak. He's hurt. The last time a land diver was killed here was in 1974. But people get hurt every year, sometimes seriously. The other boys and men put cold water on the boy's head. Eventually, he walks away, assisted by friends and brothers. One of the older men jumps next. It's an especially good dive. Perfect. People from abroad are not allowed to take part in land dive, as it's only for native divers. But the chief says that a Western cameraman can tie a small camera to a diver's leg. It's the first time this has been done. The people love it. The cameraman thanks the land diver. The young man who wore the camera on his dive tells about his jumps in the local language, Raja. The first dive was great. The second dive I broke a vine. But as long as I'm not hurt, everything is going well. I'm a lucky man. The last dive of the afternoon is by one of the best divers on Pentecost Island. He's been diving for many years. He dives from the tower and lands safely. Everyone is very happy. When it's finished, the children run around the tower. They dream of the day when they'll be old enough to dive, old enough to test their bravery in one of the most unusual events on Earth.
Wow! What an amazing video! How did you feel when you watched that video? The first time I saw this video, I was excited, but I was also a little bit scared. If you ever see a sport like this that makes you feel both scared and excited at the same time, then you know you are watching an extreme sport. Before we move on to ask and answer some questions about this video, I want to tell you that extreme sports are very dangerous. Never try an extreme sport without your parents' permission, and even then, you still have to be very careful. I have tried a few extreme sports in my lifetime, and I've been hurt more than a few times. So remember, safety first. All right, let's check out some questions. We have an A section and a B section. What did you notice from this video? Check all of the dives that were shown. Was there a dive into water? Was there a dive that didn't go well? Did you see a dive with a camera tied to a leg? How about a dive that went well? Was there a dive when someone died? How about a dive by a Western man? Take a moment to put a check or note for all of the dives that were shown. All right, let's check our answers. Was there a dive into water? No. Was there a dive that didn't go well? Yes, there was. Remember the dive made by the young man? The vine snapped and he hit his head on the ground. Ouch! Was there a dive with a camera tied to a leg? Yes, there was. That was the first time this had ever been done. The people loved it. How about a dive that went well? Yeah, most of the dives went well, and the last dive made by the chief went extremely well. Did you see a dive when someone died? Not in this video, and I'm thankful for that. Was there a dive by a Western man? No, there wasn't. Only natives to the island are allowed to land dive. Why do you think that might be? Okay, let's move on to the B section. You have to choose the correct answers. What does Nagal mean? Does it mean land diving or an ancient event? Choose your answer now. Number 2. The tower is built A, in a jungle, or B, next to a town. There must be a town near where these villagers live, right? Choose your answer now. Number 3. Jumpers with second thoughts must A, not jump, or B, close their eyes. Choose your answer now. Number 4. People A, die, or B, get hurt every year. Choose your answer now. Number 5. People from abroad like you and me, A, can, or B, cannot jump. Choose your answer now. Take a moment to check and then we'll go over the answers together. All right, time to check the answers. Number 1, Nagal means land diving. Did you choose the correct answer? I bet you did. Number 2, the tower is built A, in a jungle. Nice work. Number 3, jumpers with second thoughts must A, not jump. If you're having second thoughts or if you're not sure about jumping, don't do it. This is true for any extreme sport. This is very important. If you're unsure of yourself, you shouldn't do it. Number 4, people B, get hurt every year. I'm glad people don't die every year. That would not be good. Number 5, people from abroad B, cannot jump. Why do you think this is? I think the natives in this village have their own traditions which are very special and important to them. These traditions are only for the people who are native to or originally from that place. People from outside or abroad cannot participate in these traditions, but they are welcome to watch. Let's get to the main reading. This is a very exciting reading. It's called Adventure Island, and we're going to travel to the South Pacific to get there. I'll explain what that means later. Let's look at the language targets for today. The first language target is South Pacific. We'll learn what an adventure is. Perhaps we'll go kayaking. We'll get very close to active volcanoes, and we'll learn all about extreme sports. Let's get started with paragraph 1. Vanuatu is a nation of small islands in the South Pacific. It is one of the smallest countries in the world. But for those interested in adventure and sport, there is a lot to do. Some of the best swimming, snorkeling, and sea kayaking can be found here. Vanuatu's islands offer visitors two of the most exciting and dangerous activities in the world: volcano surfing and land diving. Ooh. In paragraph 1, we have one vocabulary word. It's the word nation. We also have 3 language targets: South Pacific, adventure, and kayaking. Let's start with nation. A nation is a large group of people who share the same history, culture, or language. A nation of people often live in the same country. Now, I want to be clear on this. The word nation does not mean country, okay? A nation is not a place. It's a group of people. The Irish author James Joyce said a nation is the same people living in the same place. And that's true. Here are some of the flags of the United Nations. Each flag represents a place, but it also represents a nation, a group of people who live in that place. Many nations make up the people on our planet. Even within one country, you can have more than one nation. That's an interesting idea, isn't it? How many different nations live in your country? The South Pacific is the southern hemisphere of the Pacific Ocean. And we're going to take a look at what that means now. Here's a piece of a map that shows part of the South Pacific, okay? You can see Australia there in the bottom left corner. You can see New Zealand, all right? And the water in between Australia and New Zealand is referred to as Australasia. That's a funny word, isn't it? Can you say that? Australasia. And if you look closely, you can see several very teeny tiny islands that make up the South Pacific. All right, let's take a closer look now on Google Earth. The South Pacific includes thousands of islands and archipelagos. And an archipelago is just a group of islands. Take a look at this map. You can see China there. You can see Russia, basically all of Asia, right? East Asia and Southeast Asia. You can see Japan and the Philippines. Maybe you can see Singapore. And if we turn the globe, you can see the Pacific Ocean. Here you see North America with Canada and Alaska at the top and the United States on the bottom. Now let's go to the South Pacific. This is the southern hemisphere of the Pacific Ocean. There's Fiji. You have all these islands, thousands of islands. There's Vanuatu. That's the island we're going to visit today. And the South Pacific is home to Melanesia, Micronesia, Polynesia, thousands, literally thousands of islands. It's amazing. I don't have time to show you all the islands, but if you try to find Vanuatu on a map, do you think you could? It's in the South Pacific. Have a try. Let's practice. The South Pacific is the southern hemisphere of the Pacific Ocean. Where would you like to visit in the South Pacific? I would like to visit Fiji. Pause now to tell me your answer to this question. Today is a day for adventure. An adventure is unusual and exciting activity that is also dangerous. Ooh, that sounds fun. Adventures can be had in all kinds of places. Here are just a few examples. Whoa! What is this? This looks like hiking, right? But these hikers are in a frozen place. Where do you think they are? They're on top of a mountain. That's right. Ice climbing and extreme hiking will take you up the mountain or even up the side of a glacier. Ice climbing is very dangerous. It's a great adventure. Look at those boots. They have special spikes on them called cleats. These are very sharp, all right? You could cut meat with these things. They dig into the ice and help the climber grab on. The climber also has to use these ice picks. That helps them grab hold of the ice with their arms. And ice climbers wear bright clothing. So if they fall or get hurt, their friends can find them more easily. And this is a good thing because cell phones don't work in these high, cold places. Maybe you don't like heights. Well, your snowy adventure can take place at the foot of the mountain as you ski. Yeah, skiing is a great adventure. It's less dangerous than ice climbing. Have you ever gone skiing before? How are your skiing skills? What if you love heights, but you don't like the cold? Hop in an air balloon and take your adventure to the skies. This is something I've always wanted to do. I'm a little bit afraid of going up in an air balloon because I'm not really sure how I would get down. I guess I have to make friends with someone who is an experienced balloonist. If you don't like heights or cold, maybe you like to get wet. Take those skis to the lake for a water skiing adventure. Water skiing is fun, but it can be dangerous. If your head hits the water, it can be just as dangerous as getting in a bad car accident. So if you go water skiing, make sure you wear a helmet. Let's practice. Adventure is an unusual and exciting activity that is also dangerous. Have you ever been on an adventure before? What did you do? Why was it dangerous? Kayaking is the sport or activity of paddling a kayak. To know what a kayak is, first you have to know what a canoe is, all right? Now, a canoe is a narrow boat with pointed ends, and we call this a rudderless boat. The rudder is what goes behind the boat and it lets you steer the boat. But a canoe doesn't have this. You steer and move a canoe with paddles or oars. This is a canoe. It's a narrow boat and the ends are pointed. Canoes are cool because you can turn the canoe around. You can go backwards. You can spin the canoe. The only thing you can't do in a canoe is you can't go sideways. And you have to use a paddle or an oar to steer a canoe. A kayak is different. A kayak is a type of canoe first used by Inuit people in Alaska. Kayaks have watertight coverings and a small hole in the top to sit in. And one of the reasons that these kayaks were watertight is because the water is freezing cold. Canoes are no good in the cold because you'll just freeze. If you're going to paddle through cold water, a kayak is the way to go. And a kayak looks like this. Kayaking can be done on rivers and on lakes, even on the ocean. And that is kayaking. Have you ever been kayaking before? I have. Once you get the hang of it, it's very fun. Kayaking is the sport or activity of paddling a kayak. Where would you like to kayak? In a lake, a pond, an ocean, or a river? Pause now to tell me your answer. Paragraph 2. Volcano surfing. On Tanna Island, Mount Yasser rises 300 meters into the sky. Yasser is one of a few active volcanoes in the country. It erupts almost every day, sometimes several times a day. For centuries, both island locals and visitors have climbed this mountain to visit the top. Recently, people have also started climbing Yasser to surf the volcano. In some ways, volcano surfing is like surfing in the sea, but in other ways, it's very different. A volcano surfer's goal is to escape the erupting volcano without being hit by flying rocks. It's fast, fun, and dangerous. The perfect extreme sport. My goodness, this is sounding extremely adventurous. This is very exciting. What an adventure. There are 2 language targets in this paragraph. Active volcanoes and extreme sport. And we have several vocabulary words. Let's look at the footnoted word erupts, right? The paragraph says Yasser erupts almost every day. What does erupt mean? Well, when a volcano erupts, it throws out hot rock called lava. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about that now. Only active volcanoes erupt. And active volcanoes are volcanoes that can erupt at any time. Let me tell you what this means. A volcano is a fracture or opening in the Earth's crust. Okay? Beneath the crust is super hot liquid rock called magma. Magma can slowly cool and harden, or it can even get more hot. It never stays the same. When magma gets hot enough, it can rise to the surface of the earth. When this happens, boom, a volcano erupts. A volcano may be active, dormant, or extinct. Active volcanoes have magma flowing beneath the surface and can erupt at any time. Dormant volcanoes are volcanoes that have magma beneath the surface, but they won't be erupting anytime soon. Extinct volcanoes are volcanoes that used to have magma beneath the surface, and now all the magma is cooled and hardened, or it's too far beneath the surface of the Earth's crust to erupt, right? So let me ask you this question. Which kind of volcano is the safest to surf down? Active volcanoes, dormant volcanoes, or extinct volcanoes? Yeah, that's right. Extinct volcanoes are the safest to surf down. How are active volcanoes different from dormant volcanoes? Pause now to tell me your answer. Let's look at the word century. A century is singular. Centuries is plural. And centuries are periods of 100 years, right? So a century is 100 years long. This is what America looked like about a century ago in the 1920s. So this is 1 century ago or 100 years ago. Wow, this is very different. If you've been to America before, you know that America doesn't look like this anymore. This is what it looked like a century ago. Look at all the cars. Look at the trolley in the street. I wonder what city this is. Boston, New York, Chicago? If you went to a party in America about a century ago, it might look something like this. There are no TV or cell phones at this party. There is some electricity, and people are dancing and having a good time. Maybe there's a band playing music. This is what America looked like about 2 centuries ago, in the 1820s. At that time, there was no electricity. And if you looked at a picture of someone, it was probably a painting and not a photograph. Because 2 centuries ago, technology was very limited. What did your country look like 2 centuries ago? Let's look at the vocabulary word escape. Escape means to get away or get free from something, especially harm or danger. The word escape can be used either as a verb or as a noun. For example, the rabbit was hopping through the forest. It saw a wolf. The wolf started chasing the rabbit. The rabbit made it back to its den safely. The rabbit escaped from the wolf. That's an example of using the word escape as a verb. But let's use the word escape as a noun. A ladder or staircase on the side of a building is called a fire escape. Can you see the fire escapes in this photograph? This is a ladder or staircase that can be used if there's a fire inside the building. You can use the ladder outside as a fire escape. All right, here's another picture of a fire escape. Have you ever seen one of these before? I'm sure you have. Here is a staircase that can be used as a fire escape. That's interesting. What other escapes have you seen? Hit means to strike or touch with force. Have you played this game before? To win this game, you use a mallet to hit creatures that come out of the hole. What's this game called? I can't remember. If something is extreme, it is beyond or more than what is normal. It's a lot more than the regular. Rock and roll can get to extreme volumes. If you've ever seen a rock and roll band play live, you know how extreme the volume gets. It gets very loud, super loud. So loud it can hurt your ears. So loud it can... Well, just watch. You'll see what I mean. The guitar amplifier is extremely loud. Now let's take this word extreme and apply it to sports. Extreme sports are sports that are exciting and dangerous. The world of extreme sports is wild and wide. Let's look at a few popular extreme sports together. This extreme sport is called downhill longboarding. Downhill boarders wear special gloves to grab pavement when they want to steer or slow down. BMX dirt jumping is another popular extreme sport. Like all extreme sports, BMX dirt jumpers have to be in great shape. Just look at that control. Motocross racing is like BMX but with off-road dirt bikes. The bikes are heavier and faster than BMX bikes, making this extreme sport extra dangerous. This extreme sport is called cliff diving. I've tried this one before. It's fun but dangerous. Let's practice. Extreme sports are sports that are exciting and dangerous. Would you like to try any of these extreme sports? Don't do it without your parents' permission. Why do you think people like extreme sports? Do you think kids should be allowed to try them? Pause now to tell me your answer. Paragraph 3. Land diving. Most people are familiar with bungee jumping. But did you know that bungee jumping started on Pentecost Island in Vanuatu and is almost 15 centuries old? The original activity, called land diving, is part of a religious ceremony. A man ties tree vines around his ankles. He then jumps head first from a high tower. The goal is to touch the earth with the top of his head without breaking the vine or hitting the ground hard. Every spring, island natives, men only, still perform this amazing test of bravery. We have several vocabulary words to go over in this paragraph. We also have 2 footnote words. The word ceremony means a formal event, such as a wedding. A vine is a plant that grows up or over things. Let's check out the word familiar first. If something is familiar to you, it is well known, close to you, or easily recognized. You know what it is. If something is familiar, you have seen it many times before and you know a lot about it. I am familiar with vampire movies. I've seen hundreds of them. I know all the characters and I know how they all end. I know who the bad guys are and I know who the good guys are. I am familiar with vampire movies. Religious means related to or believing in religion. A religion is a set of beliefs or teaching about a god or gods. Some religious people go to church or temple to practice their religion, and in one nation there can be many different religions. What religions are there in your country? To tie means to fasten or attach with a string, a rope, or a cord. How many knots can you tie? You can tie your shoes, right? A slip knot is one of the most useful knots you can tie. Every time you tie your shoes, you're tying a slip knot. A native is a person from or born in a specific place. This is an Inupiat girl. Her people are native to the coastal village of Kotzebue in northwestern Alaska. So I can use the word native as an adjective. I can say this girl is native to Kotzebue. I can also say she is a native of Kotzebue. In the first sentence, I'm using the word native as an adjective, and in the second sentence, I'm using the word native as a noun. Bravery is courageous behavior. To show bravery is to stand up to your fears. If someone shows bravery, it doesn't mean that they're not afraid. It means that they are afraid, but they can face or stand up to the thing that they're afraid of. And a test of bravery is a way to show that you can do something that is not easy. Take a look at this girl. She is participating in a ceremony called the blanket toss. And the blanket toss is a way to face your fears by showing bravery. And it's an important part of the culture where she lives. All the young people there perform this test of bravery when they are old enough. Are there any tests of bravery in your culture? What are they? Well, girls and boys, you have finished the reading. Nice work. It's time for the discussion questions. I'm really excited about today's discussion questions. Should kids be allowed to do extreme sports? Why or why not? Ooh, this is a good question. Well, think of all the extreme sports we saw today. Are there any that you would like to try? Do you think you should be allowed to try this sport? Why or why not? This is a good question. I think when kids are old enough, they should be allowed to choose. But if they're going to engage in an extreme sport, they should only do it with adults and also know how to do it in the safest way possible. Maybe you disagree. Do you? Why or why not? Discussion question number 2. Invent your own extreme sport. What makes it so dangerous and so exciting? This is a fun one too. My extreme sport that I invented is called Kids Catapult. The kids get into a catapult, which is a big machine that looks like this, okay? And the kid is wearing a suit of armor that's made out of pillows, okay? And the kids are wearing this pillow suit, or maybe it's a marshmallow suit. And then the catapult throws the kid into a pillow factory. Boom. So they're wearing something soft and they land in something soft. It could be very fun. I'm not sure if I would be allowed to let any kids try this extreme sport though, because I can't guarantee that it's 100% safe. And that's why extreme sports are so exciting. There's always a chance that you might get hurt. Now, take a moment to think about your own extreme sport. Use your imagination. Maybe your extreme sport takes you underwater, or into space, or into a volcano. Have fun with this one, as you can discuss this question with a partner. Nice work. Let's do the critical thinking questions. This you can discuss with a partner too. How is surfing on water similar to or the same as volcano surfing? How is it different? This is a 2-part question. Ooh, that's an interesting question. Now, if you're not familiar with surfing on water, you can do the next part, the reading skill, because we'll read about surfing on water, okay? You'll learn a little bit about the history there, and then you can come back and do the critical thinking part. It's up to you. If you're already familiar with water surfing, go ahead and discuss these questions with a partner now. Today's reading skill is finding key details. To answer the questions about a text, you often need to find specific details. Before you read, you first need to decide what to look for. This is important. For example, are you looking for a person's name, a place, or a number? Once you know what to look for, scan the text quickly to find that information. Let's try this now. Multiple choice. Read the questions. What kind of answer will you need to scan for? Choose A, B, or C. Here are the questions. Where did surfing begin? When did tourists begin traveling to Hawaii? What were the first surfboards made of? And when were lighter boards probably made? So each of these questions is asking you for some specific information. And when you're looking for key details, you need to know what kind of information these questions are looking for. You have A, B, and C answers, right? So I'll give you about 10 seconds to scan this paragraph, all right? We're not going to read the whole thing. I want you to scan it, all right? After 10 seconds, we'll answer the questions. So take a look and scan. Where did surfing begin? Question 2. When did tourists begin traveling to Hawaii? What kind of information are you looking for there? Question 3. What were the first surfboards made of? What is this looking for? And question 4. When were lighter boards probably made? What kind of information is this question asking for? Did you finish scanning? Okay, very good. Let's take a look at question 1. Where did surfing begin? Now you know right away by reading this question what kind of information this question is asking for, right? You know that you need to find a place. So let's find the answer. Where did surfing begin? Do you know the answer to this question? It's right here. Surfing began in the islands of Hawaii and other areas of the Pacific Ocean. Cool, very good. When you're finding key details, you look at the question closely, and that will help you find the answer. Question 2. When did tourists begin traveling to Hawaii? Is this question looking for a name, a place, or a date? It's looking for a date, right? A date or a time, because the first word in this question is when. Can you scan the paragraph and find that answer? Yeah, tourists began to travel to Hawaii in the early 1900s. Hey, that's a little over a century ago. Let's check out question 3. What were the first surfboards made of? Is this question asking for a time? Is it asking for a name? Do you think surfboards can be made up of a time or a name? Probably not. Surfboards can be made up of stuff or material, right? Do you know the answer to this question? What were the first surfboards made of? The first surfboards were made of wood, right? They were very large and heavy. Dense, thick, heavy wood. They were not easy to carry. Surfing was fun, but it was not easy. It's still not easy, but later scientists found ways to make surfboards lighter. Now let's look at question number 4. When were lighter boards probably made? What's this question asking for? Is it asking for a place? Is it asking for a date? Or is it asking for a sport? Well, it's not a sport. No. The answer to this question is B, a date. When were lighter boards probably made? The question wants to know what time, right? A date or a time. What do you think? What's the answer? Yeah, during the late 1940s. I think 47, 48, 49, maybe early 1950s, scientists started using materials that made it possible to build much lighter boards. They started with lighter woods like balsa wood. Then later, they moved on to synthetic materials. And synthetic materials are materials that are man-made, made by scientists. They're not found in nature. Very good, you finished the reading skill section. I have a present for you. That's right, it's some homework. Today's homework is the Finding Key Details Part B. Okay, and that's found on page 31 in the student book of Reading Explorer 1. But the homework is part B, which is completing the question in full sentences. Have a look at the worksheet that I made for you, and everything you need is right there. Nice work, girls and boys. This was an exciting reading. I had a great time learning about extreme sports with you today. Stick around for the retelling and writing video coming up next. Until next time, bye-bye.